The unwanted giant captain. Marcus Vale stared at the massive battleship floating in Earth's orbital shipyard. The Titan's fury stretched nearly 3 kilometers from bow to stern, her hull bristling with weapons that made other species' warships look like toys. For 18 months, she had been rejected by every major galactic alliance. Too aggressive, the Zenthari had said. Too primitive, claimed the Vorthon Republic. The Crystalline Collective called her unnecessarily intimidating. 17 different alien governments had turned away humanity's greatest achievement, dismissing the ship as crude, oversized, and brutish, but Marcus saw something different. He saw potential. The ship's designer, Dr. Victoria Kane, stood beside him in the observation deck. Her weathered face showed years of disappointment and rejection. "They all want sleek, elegant vessels," she muttered. "Ships that whisper through. Space-like dancers, they don't understand that sometimes you need a hammer." "Tell me about her capabilities," Marcus said quietly. Victoria's eyes lit up. "She's built for endurance. While their ships rely on exotic energy sources that can be disrupted, the Titan's fury runs on fusion reactors that could power a small moon. Her armor isn't some fancy energy shield that can fail. It's 3 meters of tungsten steel composite that could stop a planet-killer missile." Marcus walked to the viewport, pressing his palm against the reinforced glass. The ship's angular design looked nothing like the flowing curves preferred by galactic society. She was all sharp edges and brutal efficiency, like a sledgehammer forged in space. "The weapons?" he asked. "Kinetic cannons that fire depleted uranium slugs at 30% light speed. Plasma batteries with enough power to melt asteroids. And the missile pods." Victoria smiled grimly. "Nuclear warheads with yields that would make the old Earth superpowers weep." The door chimed, and Admiral Jonathan Cross entered. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth's fledgling Space Force. "Captain Vale, I have news. The Hegemony Council has officially rejected our application for Alliance membership. They cite our militaristic tendencies and crude technology." Marcus turned from the window. "What's our status with the trade routes?" "Blocked. The major shipping lanes are controlled by Alliance members only. We're effectively quarantined to our own system." Victoria clenched her fists. 30 years of space travel, and they treat us like barbarians." "Maybe that's exactly what we need to be," Marcus said softly. Both officers looked at him in surprise. They've spent millennia becoming soft, relying on diplomacy and pretty ships. But what happens when real trouble comes? When someone threatens their perfect little civilization? Admiral Cross frowned. "What are you suggesting?" Marcus smiled, his gaze returning to the mighty warship. "I'm suggesting we show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. They think we're too crude, too violent, too different." He paused. "Let's prove them right." The Titan's fury awaited her first captain, her weapons cold but ready. In the depths of space, trouble was already stirring. First contact with Fire 3. Weeks later, the trouble arrived. Commander Lisa Torres received the distress signal while monitoring deep space communications. The message came through in 17 different alien languages, all saying the same thing. "Mayday. Under attack. Coordinates follow. Please help." The signal originated from the Kepler station, a neutral trading post on the edge of Alliance space. Torres immediately contacted Captain Vale, who was conducting training exercises with the Titan's fury. "Captain, we're receiving multiple distress calls from Kepler station. They're under attack by something called the Devourers." Marcus felt his blood chill. They'd heard whispers of the Devourers, a race of machines that consumed entire worlds, but most considered them legend. "What's the Alliance response?" "The nearest Alliance fleet is 6 days away." By then, Torres didn't need to finish. Marcus made his decision in seconds. "Set course for Kepler Station. Maximum burn." "Sir, we're not Alliance members. Technically, entering their space without permission is an act of war." "Then I guess we're already at war," Marcus replied. The Titan's fury tore through space like an arrow of vengeance. Her massive engines pushed her past the red line, systems straining but holding. In 18 hours, they reached Kepler Station. What they found was carnage. Lieutenant Ryan Harper, the ship's tactical officer, stared at his screens in horror. "Captain, the station's almost gone. I'm reading massive energy signatures from... Dear God." The Devourer ship was a nightmare of twisted metal and pulsing energy. It was larger than anything in the Alliance fleet, its surface covered in mechanical tentacles that were literally eating the station piece by piece. Escape pods drifted helplessly in space while the monster fed. "All Alliance ships in the area have fled," Harper reported. "We're alone." Marcus stood on the bridge, watching the destruction. Around him, his crew of 200 waited for orders. These weren't Alliance pretty boys with their perfect uniforms and diplomatic training. These were humans, survivors, fighters who'd clawed their way to the stars. "Dr. Kane, are you monitoring?" Victoria's voice crackled through the comm. "I see it, Marcus. That thing's shields are unlike anything we've encountered. The Alliance ships couldn't even scratch it." "What about our weapons?" A pause. "The kinetic cannons might punch through, but we'd have to get close. Dangerously close." Marcus looked at his crew. Chief Engineer Tommy Walsh, who'd kept the ship running through impossible conditions. Navigation Officer Jennifer Kim, who could plot a course through a black hole. Weapons Officer Carlos Santos, whose grandmother had fought in Earth's last great war. "They called us primitive," Marcus said quietly. "Too crude for their perfect society. Let's show them what crude can accomplish." He turned to Santos. "Target their power core. Load kinetic penetrators." "Sir, at this range they'll tear us apart before we can fire." Marcus smiled coldly. "Then we don't give them the chance. All ahead full. Ramming speed." The Titan's fury screamed forward, her massive engines painting space with nuclear fire. The Devourer ship turned toward them, weapon ports opening like hungry mouths. "Brace for impact," Marcus ordered. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you cornered humanity. The hammer falls, the first exchange of fire lit up space like a newborn star. The Devourer ship unleashed streams of coherent energy that would have vaporized any Alliance vessel instantly. But the Titan's fury wasn't an Alliance ship. She was a human creation, built by people who understood that space was trying to kill you every second of every day. The energy beams struck her forward shields and armor, sending shockwaves through the hull. Lights flickered as power conduits overloaded, but the ship held together. Victoria Kane's brutal design philosophy paid off in that moment. Redundancy, durability, and raw strength over elegance. "Forward shields down 60%, called Outsystems Officer Rachel Moon. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Captain Vale gripped his command chair as the ship shuddered. "Damage control teams, seal those breaches. Santos, return fire." The Titan's fury's kinetic cannons spoke with the voice of thunder. Depleted uranium slugs, each weighing several tons, launched at incredible velocity toward the alien vessel. The Devourer's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, had no answer for simple, brutal kinetic force. The first slug punched through their defensive screen like it wasn't there. The second and third followed, tearing into the machine ship's hull with devastating effect. Explosions bloomed along the creature's flank as vital systems were destroyed. "Direct hits!" Santos shouted. "Their shields are fluctuating!" But the Devourer wasn't finished. Mechanical tentacles, each as thick as a subway train, lashed out toward the human ship. Lieutenant Harper's hands flew over his console as he calculated intercept vectors. "Missile pods, fire pattern Delta," Vale ordered. Nuclear warheads streaked through space, each one carrying enough destructive power to level a city. They detonated in brilliant flashes of fusion fire, severing several of the grasping appendages. Metallic debris scattered like cosmic shrapnel. Engineer Walsh's voice crackled through the comm from the engine room. "Captain, I can give you one more surge, but it'll push us past all safety limits." "Do it," Vale replied without hesitation. The Titan's fury accelerated again, closing distance with her wounded prey. The Devourer tried to retreat, but it was too late. Humanity had closed to knife-fighting range, and humans had been perfecting close combat for millennia. "All weapons! Continuous fire!" Vale commanded. The ship became a symphony of destruction. Plasma batteries carved glowing channels through alien armor, while kinetic rounds punched deep into vital systems. The Titan's fury fought like her namesake, all rage and relentless violence. Navigation Officer Kim suddenly looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm detecting Alliance ships on long-range sensors, multiple vessels approaching fast." "Let them come," Vale said grimly. "They can watch us finish this." The Devourer ship was dying, its hull cracking open like an egg. Strange energies leaked from its wounds, creating aurora effects in the void. But even dying, it remained dangerous. A final, desperate energy discharge lanced out, striking the human ship's port side. The Titan's fury rolled with the impact, her hull scarred but unbroken. Emergency klaxons wailed as damage control teams rushed to contain fires and seal breaches, but she remained in the fight, battered but unbowed. "Their power core is destabilizing," Harper reported. "Massive energy buildup detected." Vale realized what was happening. The machine was going to self-destruct, taking everything within 1,000 kilometers with it, including the remaining survivors from Kepler Station. "All power to engines," he ordered. "Get us between that thing and those escape pods." The Titan's fury positioned herself as a shield, her massive bulk protecting the helpless civilians. When the Devourer exploded, the human ship took the full force of the blast on her armored hide. The galaxy watched as humanity made its choice: protection over self-preservation. The Queen revealed Admiral Zektar of the Zenthari fleet arrived to find the Titan's fury drifting silent in space, her hull scarred and blackened, but intact. The Devourer ship was nothing but expanding debris, while dozens of escape pods floated safely behind the human vessel's protective bulk. "Status report," Zektar commanded his communications officer. "The human ship is badly damaged but operational. They're conducting rescue operations, recovering survivors from the destroyed station." "Sir," the officer paused. "They saved everyone. Over 3,000 beings from 17 different species." Zektar studied the tactical display with growing amazement. The Devourer ship had been classified as impossible to destroy using conventional weapons. 3 Alliance fleets had retreated rather than engage. Yet these humans, with their crude single ship, had not only destroyed it, but done so while protecting civilians. "Open a channel to the human vessel," he ordered. Captain Vale's image appeared on the main screen. His uniform was torn, his face streaked with soot, but his eyes burned with determination. Behind him, the bridge showed obvious battle damage, yet his crew worked efficiently at their stations. "This is Admiral Zektar of the Zenthari Republic. Captain Vale, your actions today?" The Admiral struggled for words. "They have saved thousands of lives." Vale nodded curtly. "Just doing our job, Admiral." "Your job?" Zektar felt confusion. "But you are not Alliance members. You had no obligation to respond." "We had every obligation," Vale replied firmly. "When someone calls for help, you answer. That's what separates civilization from chaos." Dr. Kane appeared beside Vale on the screen. Her engineering uniform was scorched, but her pride was evident. "Admiral, I believe you've met my ship before." The Titan's fury, rejected by 17 Alliance members as too crude and unnecessarily aggressive. Zektar felt something like shame. He remembered the reports, the dismissive evaluations of human military technology. They had all been so wrong. "Doctor, Captain, I owe you an apology." "We all do." Commander Torres joined them on screen. "With respect, Admiral, we don't need apologies. We need recognition that humanity deserves a place in galactic society." Before Zektar could respond, his tactical officer called out urgently, "Sir, massive energy signatures detected. Multiple Devourer ships approaching from Vector 77 Mark IV. The display showed 12 more machine ships, each as large as the one the humans had just destroyed. They moved with mechanical precision toward the rescue site, drawn by the destruction of their scout. "The entire fleet will be here in 2 hours," the tactical officer reported. "Our ships, they can't fight those things." Vale's expression didn't change. "Admiral, I suggest you evacuate your vessels to minimum safe distance." "Captain, you cannot face 12 Devourer ships alone. It's suicide." "Maybe," Vale admitted. "But those survivors need time to reach safety. Someone has to buy that time." Dr. Kane stepped forward. "Admiral, we've been building more ships like the Titan's Fury, not because we wanted war, but because we understood that peace requires strength." Vale activated his comm system. "All human vessels, this is Captain Vale. Converge on these coordinates. Maximum burn." On Zektar's display, new contacts appeared. 7 more human ships, each as massive and intimidating as the Titan's Fury. They moved with the same brutal efficiency, closing ranks around the rescue site. "You're not alone," Vale said simply. "Humanity stands together." Zektar watched in awe as the human fleet formed a defensive line, their angular ships looking like predators preparing to hunt. These weren't the elegant vessels favored by Alliance design. They were weapons, pure and simple, built by a species that understood survival. The 18th chance had revealed the true queen of the void. Birth of an empire. The Battle of Kepler Station lasted 14 hours and changed the course of galactic history. 12 Devourer ships met 8 human vessels in a clash that lit up space across 3 star systems. The machines came with overwhelming firepower and adaptive shields, expecting another easy victory like they'd achieved against Alliance fleets. They met something entirely different. Captain Vale coordinated the human fleet with tactical precision, born from centuries of warfare. While Alliance navies relied on individual ship excellence, humans fought as a pack. When the Stellar Hammer took critical damage, the Iron Wolf and Void Stalker immediately moved to cover her retreat. When Devourer tentacles threatened to overwhelm the Crimson Dawn, the Thunderstrike rammed through them with her armored prow. Admiral Zektar watched from his command ship at safe distance, recording everything. His tactical computers struggled to process what they were seeing. By all calculations, the humans should have been annihilated in the first exchange. Instead, they adapted, evolved their tactics in real time, and turned their apparent weaknesses into advantages. "Their ships are crude," his science officer noted. "No elegant energy systems, no advanced shielding technology. They're using basic fusion reactors and simple kinetic weapons." "Basic?" Zektar murmured, watching the Titan's Fury gut another Devourer with a sustained barrage. "Or perfected?" The turning point came when Dr. Kane, monitoring from Earth, transmitted new targeting data to the fleet. She had analyzed the wreckage from the first battle and found the Devourer's critical weakness, a harmonic frequency in their power cores. That could be exploited. "All ships, synchronize your kinetic cannons to frequency 774.6, Vale ordered. "Fire on my mark." 8 human ships spoke in unison, their weapons creating a resonance cascade that shattered Devourer. Shields like glass, the machines, for the first time in their existence, faced weapons that bypassed their adaptations through simple, brutal physics. One by one, the Devourer ships died. The last one, desperately trying to escape, was run down by the Night Fury and destroyed by point-blank plasma fire. In the aftermath, as rescue ships from dozens of Alliance worlds arrived to collect survivors, something unprecedented happened. The Galactic Council, which had rejected humanity's membership application months earlier, sent an emergency delegation. Chancellor Mordex of the Council arrived aboard his flagship, accompanied by representatives from every major species. They found Captain Vale overseeing repairs to his fleet, his ships scarred but victorious. "Captain Vale," the Chancellor began formally, The Council wishes to extend our deepest gratitude. You have saved not just the beings at Kepler Station, but potentially entire worlds. Vale looked up from a damage report. Just doing what needed to be done, Chancellor. Your actions. They've shown us something we had forgotten. The galaxy has grown soft, complacent. We've become so focused on diplomacy and elegance that we forgot the universe doesn't care about our aesthetics. Dr. Kane appeared via hollow projection from Earth. Chancellor, we've been trying to join your alliance for years. Every time we were rejected for being too militaristic, too crude, too different. And we were fools, Mordex admitted. We saw your strength as primitive aggression. We failed to recognize it as the foundation of true civilization, the willingness to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The Chancellor gestured to his staff, who produced a formal document. Humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Alliance with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, we formally request that Earth consider taking a leadership role in Alliance defense. Vale exchanged glances with his officers. Around the bridge, men and women who had been dismissed as crude barbarians stood a little straighter. We accept, Vale said simply. But understand this, we do things our way. We build ships that can take punishment and keep fighting. We stand by our allies, even when it's dangerous, and we never, ever abandon those who need our help. I wouldn't have it any other way, the Chancellor replied. As the formal ceremonies concluded and the last survivor was safely evacuated, Admiral Zektar found himself standing beside his communication officer, watching the human ships form up for their return journey. They rejected her 17 times, the officer mused, called her too big, too crude, too aggressive. Zektar nodded slowly. But the 18th man saw a queen, and now the galaxy bows to her power. The Titan's fury led her sisters home through the void, their hulls bearing the scars of victory. Behind them, they left the scattered remains of an ancient enemy and the birth of a new age. The Terran Empire had begun not with conquest, but with courage, not with aggression, but with the simple human refusal to let evil triumph while good, people could still fight. In the depths of space, other threats stirred, drawn by the death of the Devourer fleet. But they would find something waiting for them that the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity unleashed, standing as guardians of the innocent and protectors of the weak. The crude barbarians had become the kings of the void. The end.